大家好，欢迎收看今天的节目。你最常为一个人或者一件事情等待过多久呢？1个月、1年、10年，还是像圣经里面记录的以色列人这样，在旷野里面漂泊等待了整整40年？今天我们要介绍的这部作品《等待戈多》是贝克特艺术生涯的一个重要转折点。从他第一部作品在1929年发表到《等待戈多》的横空出世，这个过程当中，他等待了整整23年。那么，《等待戈多》到底为什么会有这么大的影响力，以及他到底在探讨什么？我们将花2到3期的节目来深入的探讨这部钢鼎之作。那么，就让我们一起先进入今天的对话。Hi, Robert.
Hi, Ellen.
Today we are going to talk about Beckett's work.
Yes.
And his life a little bit.
Sure.
Shall we start from Waiting for Godot?
Yeah, we can do that because you've been looking at that.
Yeah, and also it is something I've been really familiar with since my university.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a very kind of worldwide famous work.
Yeah, it's one of the most famous plays ever written, I guess.
Yeah, most famous, especially for modernism.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Modernism or modern?
Are we calling his work modernism?
I mean, Beckett's work is normally characterised as absurdism.
Absurdism.
And I guess absurdism is a sort of a subcategory
of modernism.
Of modernism, kind of. So yeah, I mean, labels are just labels, really. As we discussed in the last episode, I think people don't call themselves absurdist. I doubt Beckett ever used that term about himself. So yes, I mean, maybe just modern. It's one of the most famous plays of the 20th century. I think it would normally be on anybody's top 10 list, which is amazing for a play that Beckett wrote famously in one go, without corrections, really. And always really interesting, he wrote it in an exercise book, just a paper, and apparently Beckett had terrible handwriting. Like terrible. His letters to other people were virtually illegible, but when people have looked at his notes, they're even worse. But he kind of opened an exercise book, wrote on one side of the page, and then when he got to the end, he kind of turned it over and then wrote back, and then he finished, and that was it. Took him a few days, so it kind of, my tummy was rumbling there.
But that's fine.
Oh, okay.
One
so
question.
It's very Beckett.
Oh, okay. So, shall we kind of introduce a little bit more about what is really kind of written in the book, in the play?
Yeah. So people have famously, an Irish critic once said that Waiting for Godot is a play where nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Twice.
Oh, okay, brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant because it's very much a play of two halves. In the first half, we meet these two characters, Vladimir and Estragon, who are tramps, homeless people, or refugees, or whatever they are, but they're homeless. They've just kind of woken up, they kind of see each other, and they begin their day, and we find out that they're waiting for somebody. They're waiting for Godot. So as they wait, they talk, as people do. They talk about the night before, they talk about their health, they talk about the various problems they're having, they talk about being hungry, what they have to eat. They talk in the most kind of mundane way that people talk. And then 2 other characters arrive, Pozzo and his servant stroke slave, Lucky. Their relationship is very curious and sort of abusive. They chat about various things. At one point, Lucky starts to speak and speaks this kind of incredible monologue. At the end of that scene, a boy comes, and the boy says that Godot isn't coming.
He will come tomorrow.
He will come tomorrow. So they say, shall we go? They don't. Next day, starts again. They're waiting for Godot. Again, Pozzo and Lucky come. They've changed slightly, so Lucky can no longer speak, and Pozzo can't move as well as he did. And then a boy comes and says,
Godot won't come
tomorrow.
But
they talk about leaving,
yeah,
and they don't.
And they ask the boy, the bid, of Godot is white or black or something like that, and the boy is guessing.
Yeah.
Is not truthfully, probably the boy doesn't know Godot as well.
Who knows?
Who knows?
So that's it. So nothing happens.
And why this place called Waiting for Godot?
No one knows.
No one knows. Who is Godot? Nobody knows who is Godot.
No.
And Godot is not a character which appeared in the play.
No.
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 Not at all.
I mean, obviously, there is a kind of the word God is contained within.
Somebody asked him.
Beckett. Yeah.
Asked Beckett whether Godot is God or not. What did he say?
Don't know. I mean, he would normally say, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, he would say that. And there are various stories about what Godot is. Apparently, there was a famous cyclist in Parisian cycling who was always last, and his name is Monsieur Godot. And French working girls, ladies of the night in Paris, when they were hanging around street corners, they kind of joke, they would say, what are you doing? And they'd say, I'm waiting for Godot. I've heard another story as well, but I suspect that whatever it is, Beckett just heard that, could hear within the word Godot the word God, and was amused by that, because obviously Samuel Beckett, as a friend of James Joyce's and a great writer, was somebody who was obsessed with language, and I'm sure was aware and awake to the pun. But to say that the play is kind of about waiting for God is too simplistic, or reduces it down to a meaning. And I don't think the play has a meaning. It has whatever meaning one finds in it. And also, on another level, just is very literally connected to Samuel Beckett's life.
His own life.
Yeah, his own life. Because he wrote it just after the Second World War. It's very hard not to feel, once you know the date of the play, and I think it was first written in 1952, and it was sort of published and performed in French, and then in English. Often people will say the first production in English was in London, but actually it wasn't. It was in Ireland in a theatre called the Pike Theatre.
Pike Theatre?
Yeah, the Pike Theatre was very small.
Is it in English or in French?
In English, yeah. Alan Simpson, who ran the Pike Theatre, had heard of the play and wrote to Beckett and asked him if he could perform it. And Beckett was preparing an English translation, so he sent him that translation. So it was first performed in Dublin. I knew Alan Simpson's daughter, I still do, Clara Simpson. So actually it was first performed in Ireland. It's a very English thing to claim the first production. It's a very, very kind of imperialist thing. So it was performed. I think it did quite badly in France. It was quite unsuccessful, but it was very successful in London.
In London?
Yeah, in London, certainly.
Is it... I know something about this play. Like it is not directly put on stage just after his writing. He waited for 3 years. Yeah. Or did he wait, or did it just take 3 years? I mean, Beckett wasn't well known. I mean, nobody really knew who Beckett was. Until Waiting for Godot.
Well, kind of. I mean, until really he won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1969.
Okay.
I mean, internationally, when that happened, I think famously the New York Times was like, who is this guy? And then had to get photographs of him. So, and his fame grew and grew and grew. So in 1969, he was born in 1906. So he was kind of well into his 50s before he had considerable success and won the Nobel Prize. And famously said that was a catastrophe.
For Waiting for Godot?
No, for him winning the Nobel Prize.
But I read something about what his wife said about that. His wife said, like, he took the money, but he didn't attend
the ceremony.
Yes.
Well, famously, W.B. Yeats, another great Irish writer, when he was told he'd won the Nobel Prize, you know what he said? How much? Yeats was kind of going, I don't really care about the fame.
I care about the money.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's a joke, isn't there, in Godot about being a poet and being poor. Like somebody says to one of the characters, you should have been a poet. And he says, I was, look at me, look at the way I'm dressed, in poverty. So I think for most writers of the 20th century, poverty, I mean, still, it was a kind of constant companion.